Let's dive right into this explainer. We're looking at a pretty radical 30-day behavioral challenge that's completely designed to reset your relationship with money. Seriously, imagine waking up tomorrow and deciding, you know what? That daily $6 iced latte, those random 2 a.m. doom-scrolling Amazon finds, the habitual takeout, it's all cut off, just like that. For the next month, you're making this strange but incredibly powerful decision. Your discretionary spending drops to absolutely zero.
So what would actually happen if you stopped using money for 30 days? We've got to start with this stark question because it forces some immediate and honestly kind of uncomfortable introspection about how often money secretly controls our daily decisions. Most of us go through our routines completely unaware of how many times we literally reach for our wallets. But if you actually committed to this challenge, the biggest thing you'd save wouldn't even be cash. It would be your attention. You suddenly start noticing the invisible strings tied to every single thing you spend money on. The parameters of this experiment are definitely extreme. You stop spending a single dollar on anything other than absolute bare-bones necessities for an entire month, using only what you already own. We're talking no Amazon Prime boxes magically appearing on your porch, no emergency Uber Eats when you just don't feel like cooking, zero impulse purchases at the checkout line, and nope, no new entertainment subscriptions either. You still go to work, you still eat the food that's already sitting in your kitchen, but the tap is turned completely off. Sounds impossible at first glance, right? Here is exactly how this 30-day psychological journey usually plays out. We start with the initial shock in the first 3 days. Then we move into discovering your hidden behavioral triggers by week 2. Right around day 15, we hit a major turning point with delayed gratification, and finally we face the ultimate test at the very end of the 30 days. Let's break this down.
Okay, so during the initial shock of those first 3 days, something really fascinating happens. You look around your house and realize you actually already own plenty. Your mindset shifts entirely from consuming to becoming incredibly resourceful. You'll discover these mysterious freezer meals from last year, books you bought but literally never opened, and a pantry full of actual, real potential. Instead of pulling out your phone to ask, what can I buy to solve my problem, you look around and ask, what can I use? Your bank account just stays perfectly still. It's a profound psychological shift.
But then, by day 4, the withdrawal absolutely kicks in. Your brain starts negotiating with you, whispering, come on, it's only $20. And this reveals a really fascinating truth. We rarely spend out of actual need. We spend because we're bored, or we're stressed out from work, or we're tired, or we're just craving that quick, convenient dopamine hit. When you completely stop spending, you realize those tiny daily purchases, they were never actually about the item itself. As we move into the second week, you begin identifying your specific triggers. You start asking this absolutely crucial behavioral question. Why do I keep spending? Most people try to fix their finances with endless spreadsheets and budgeting apps. But here's the thing, math doesn't fix feelings. You have to ask why you're swiping that card in the first place. Are you actually hungry, or did you just have a really awful meeting at work? Are you shopping because payday finally arrived, or because you just desperately need an escape?
And that brings us to the most important math equation you'll ever learn. Wealth is found in the gap. See, money problems are almost always behavioral, not mathematical. The person making $4,000 a month but spending $4,100, they are actively drowning. But the person making $3,000 and spending $2,300, they're building a fortress. And creating that gap relies entirely on your behaviors and your impulse control, not just the size of your paycheck.
Also in week 2, your home starts looking like a giant financial statement. You realize that buying something is just the beginning of a relentless cycle. Think about it. When you buy something, the transaction isn't over. It just started. You now have to find a place to store it, maintain it, clean it, and eventually replace or upgrade it. A 30-day pause forces you to look at your living room and see the massive physical footprint of your past spending. It really teaches you the hidden, long-term cost of consumption.
Now, at the halfway mark on day 15, the challenge actually gets easier. I know, surprise. Your brain simply stops expecting constant purchases, and that unlocks the ultimate financial superpower, delayed gratification. You might think being restricted for 2 whole weeks would be absolute agony, but your brain actually adapts. You stop casually checking shopping apps just to see what's new. You develop this incredibly powerful ability to simply look at something and say, I want it, but I'll wait.
The crucial point here is that waiting literally changes everything. You learn that by simply applying time, many of your most intense desires just evaporate into thin air. Think about that online shopping cart you abandoned. You saw an ad, added the item, and felt like you absolutely had to have it right then and there. But because of the rules of the experiment, you forced yourself to wait. 2 weeks later, you've completely forgotten it even existed. Time is the ultimate filter for our desires.
During week 3, you really have to confront the high cost of automatic convenience. Essentially, you're paying a premium just to remove friction from your life. Look, convenience isn't inherently evil, but the problem starts when it becomes your default reaction to everything. Instead of defaulting to a $25 delivery meal simply because the thought of washing one frying pan feels overwhelming, this challenge forces you to get creative. You cook, you make do, and you completely break the dependency on swiping a card just to avoid minor inconveniences.
As we hit week 4, the math of those tiny automatic habits becomes pretty much impossible to ignore. A seemingly harmless $5 daily habit compounds into a massive financial drain. $5 a day for a coffee or a quick snack doesn't set off any alarm bells in the moment. I mean, it's just $5, right? But over a year, that's an $1,800 leak in your financial boat.
Double that to a $10 daily habit, and wow, you're looking at a staggering $3,600 a year. That's not just pocket change. That is a fully funded emergency account. That's a significant dent in your credit card debt or the seed money for your investments, all completely swallowed up by things you probably barely even remember buying. These small expenses silently rob you of your future financial breathing room.
Now, it's really important to be realistic here. This experiment isn't about pretending you don't have absolute, non-negotiable expenses. To be clear, you cannot literally stop spending all money. You still have rent, utilities, and groceries. You don't need to go live in a cave for a month. The true goal of this experiment is incredibly simple. Spend absolutely nothing unnecessary. It's strictly about separating your true needs from your automatic, unthinking wants.
In those final days, your entire perspective undergoes a massive shift. You begin asking far better paradigm-shifting questions about where your money is actually disappearing to. You're no longer just looking at a price tag, checking your bank balance, and asking, can I afford it? Instead, you're weighing the cost against your own precious time. You start asking, is this actually worth the hours of my life I had to work just to pay for it? That question alone, it changes everything.
So, when day 30 arrives, the restriction ends and the true test begins. But a really funny thing happens. You don't actually want to go on a massive shopping spree. As you reflect on those initial urges from week 1, you realize you weren't actually craving that expensive jacket or the fast food. You were just trying to purchase comfort, status, entertainment, recognition, or maybe a temporary escape from a stressful day. You were never trying to buy the product. You were trying to buy those specific feelings.
And this leads us to the most profound takeaway of the entire explainer. The ultimate financial superpower isn't earning a massive salary. It's control. Think about it. If your income doubles, but your lifestyle inflates to match it dollar for dollar, you're literally just running on a treadmill. You could make more money than ever before and still feel completely broke. True wealth is created by controlling what happens to the money you already make, mastering those impulses, and intensely guarding your attention.
If you want to try this out yourself, you don't have to punish yourself or live like a monk. Just try following 3 simple rules for the next 30 days to prove that you control your money and not the other way around. First, buy only absolute necessities. Second, enforce a strict 48-hour waiting period for literally any want. And third, track every single dollar you keep. At the end of the month, just see what happens. You might be surprised to discover you didn't miss those impulse buys at all.
We're going to end on this powerful thought. You don't become financially free when you can afford everything. You become financially free when you simply don't need everything. Understanding that you can happily live with less completely frees you from the endless treadmill of modern marketing. So I want you to look around your house, look at your bank statement, and ask yourself this. What is one thing you bought this week that you could have easily lived without?